Okay, welcome ulit sa ating discussion on our subject Euthenics 2. And as we know, this subject talks about discipline. So you are being taught on how to act, how to behave, and, so this discussion, in this episode, we will be talking about some of the things that every person should possess in order to be successful and to be considered as a good citizen of this country. So there are some specific topics that we will on moral excellence. So the topics that we will be discussing in this episode is number one, love for God. In this topic, we will be learning how to show our love for our Creator. And number two, we will be discussing about honesty, accountability, and stewardship. So we will be defining what honesty is and how we manifest honesty in our lives. And of course, accountability, how a person becomes accountable. And stewardship, how can we portray being a good steward. And we will also be talking about respect for authority and discipline and self-control. So after discussing these topics, it is expected that we will be able to learn how to love the Lord or love God, and how to become honest and accountable, and how we can become good stewards. And we will be able also to learn how to respect authority, because this is one thing that we are now losing in our community. And of course, it is expected that we will be able to understand what discipline and self-control is all about. So let us try to discuss first the love for God. And before we can understand what love for God is all about, let us try to define what love is. Of course, love is one of the words that it is very much defined. Merriam-Webster defines love as a quality or feeling of strong or constant affection for and dedication to another. So, according to Merriam-Webster, love is a feeling of strong or constant affection. It is the strong affection and tenderness felt by lovers. That's the definition of love for God. Let us try to understand what love for God is all about. These are some of the terms which are used as synonyms for the word love. People use the word affection, appreciation as a synonym for love, devotion, tenderness, respect, allegiance, delight, enchantment, fervor, fidelity, inclination, regard, zeal, worship, amour, and charity. These are just some of the words that are synonymous to the word love. But how can we show our love for God? That's the question. How can we be able to show that we love our Creator? Number one, we can show our love for our God by keeping His commandments. Number two, we can show our love for God by loving our fellow men. The standard for to understand the love for God, of course, as we have mentioned in our previous discussions, if we try to understand the love of God for us and how men love God, supposed to love God, of course we have the Bible as our basis to learn this kind of love. The Bible mentions the love of God for men as the agape love. This is the purest kind of love. But the question is, how do we show our love for God? And the Bible said we love God if we keep His commandments. And number two, we can show that we love God by loving our fellow men. And we can also show our love for God by not loving worldly things. Because the Bible also said that you cannot love God and loving the things of this world. And so these are four of the things that we need to show or to manifest if we want to love the Lord. We cannot love Him and disobey Him. That's what number one is telling us. If you really love someone, you need to follow their will. Now, following the will of God is not being a slave of God. Obeying or keeping the commandment of God is showing our love for God. The Bible even said that if you love me, keep my commandments. So we can show our love for God by obeying His orders or His commands. And of course, as we obey the commandments of God, one of the commandments that He repeatedly mentioned in the Bible is to love our fellow man, to love our neighbor. Actually, this point 1 and 2 generalizes the greatest commandment that is mentioned in the Bible. There are people are pointing out the 10 commandments in the Old Testament, but Jesus Christ said that the two greatest commandment is number 1, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might. He said this is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it, and that is to love our neighbor as ourselves. So we human beings are customized to love ourselves, but God said we need also to love our fellow man. We are even commanded to love our enemies. So the Bible even said that bless them that curse thee, do good to them that do wrong to us. That's what, and the Bible said love your enemies. So we are commanded to love our neighbors or our fellow men. And Jesus Christ said you cannot love God and mammon. Mammon is the biblical term for money. So we cannot love God secondarily. God should be the first. God should be our first love. We cannot serve God and the things of this world at the same time. The Bible even said that if we love the one, we are hating the other. So we have to choose. And of course, if we really love God, then we choose to love God first. And of course, we show that we love God if we are sure of our salvation. What is the salvation that I am talking about? It is the salvation of our soul. That we know for a surety that we will go to heaven someday, and that is by accepting the Lord as personal Lord and Savior. So these are 4 of the things that you can do to show that you love God. The second thing that we need to understand is honesty, accountability, and stewardship. Now, what is honesty? Honesty is a facet of moral character that connotes positive and virtuous attributes such as integrity, truthfulness, straightforwardness, including straightforwardness of conduct, along with the absence of lying, cheating, theft, etc. So, a person that is honest manifest the attributes of integrity. You see, when you are honest, you do things right even no one is around or observing you. When you do that, doing the right things even without anyone looking is what you call integrity. So we need to have integrity in ourselves. If we are honest, we are showing our integrity also. We are also showing that we are truthful to people. So honesty is the absence of lying. People nowadays are accustomed to lying, cheating, and robbing other people. And that is one of the characters that we need to avoid. Now, there are some essential elements of honesty. Number one, you need to know yourself and your intentions. So, you need to understand who you are. Are you a person that wants to portray good attributes? What are your intentions when you do things? You see, these are very important elements for us to manifest honesty in our lives. Number two, make your actions match your words. A person that is honest doesn't only tell what is right, but he does what is right. So our words should match our actions. Sabi nga nila, action speaks louder than words. And also, when we want to be honest in ourselves and to others, we need to be sincere about our reactions. We should not become hypocrites or what we show to people doesn't match what we really think and what we really feel. If we appreciate people, see to it that it really comes from the heart. So your reactions, your facial expressions, the actions of your hands should match your words. And a person needs to be open for feedbacks and criticisms. You need to know how to accept feedbacks or criticisms, especially from people that cares about you. So these are just some of the essential elements of honesty. So you need to know yourself and your intentions. Make your actions match your words. Be sincere about your reactions and be open to would make us or help us to become honest individuals. And then let us try to understand what accountability is all about. So what is accountability? Accountability is the quality or state of being accountable, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's action. So accountability is one of the lost traits already. People tend to ignore their accountabilities or responsibilities. Kaya nga minsan sinasabi natin, iilan na lang ang mga responsableng tao. Hindi nila alam tumanggap ng mga responsibilidad. Diba? As a result of their or consequences of their actions. Diba sinasabi natin minsan gagawa-gawa ng kalokohan pero hindi naman kayang panindigan. You see, many people are not accountable anymore. Sometimes we just want the benefits, but we don't want the consequences. We don't want to become responsible. Kaya everything that we do kapag may mga gagawin tayo and we know that it will produce some consequences, then we need to be ready to accept the consequences that's being responsible. Okay? So in every action that we do, there is always a consequence. That is why when we do things, we need to think twice or 7 times even, so that we can be able to assess or to foresee the consequences of our actions and become accountable of the consequences of the things that we do. That's accountability. Now, there are things to learn about accountability. Number one, accountability starts in you. So, we need to, if we really want to live a lifestyle of being responsible and accountable, we need to start it in ourselves. Before we expect people to become responsible on their actions or become accountable, we need to start being accountable in ourselves. You need to understand that you are accountable. You are accountable of many things. For example, bilang isang estudyante, ang mga magulang natin, binibigay nila ang mga pangangailangan natin to study. But that doesn't mean that these are privileges that we need to ignore. Our parents are trying their best for us to go to school, but we need to be accountable. And how can we become accountable? That is when we study hard. That is when we do not waste those money, those allowance that they give to us. We don't cheat about our allowance, or we don't lie to our parents because we want to become accountable. Not only in our studies, even at home, we need to be responsible on our course at home. You see, we need to be responsible. We need to be accountable. Sooner or later, when we become or we achieve the profession or the dreams that we wanted, you will be able to understand that life and being successful requires responsibility and accountability. When you become the boss of a company, you don't become a good boss by being irresponsible. You need to be responsible. You need to be accountable of the people, of the trust, of the facilities of the company. You see, accountability is a big word to apply in our lives. And accountability is not a one-time thing. Anong ibig sabihin nito? You cannot say that you will suddenly become accountable once you become a marine or a teacher. No. Accountability starts in you and it starts now. You need to develop a lifestyle of being responsible and accountable, because you cannot just wake up one day and you are already accountable or a responsible person. Accountability is not a one-time thing. And accountability applies to one and all. Everybody in one way or another has to manifest responsibility or accountability. Our parents are accountable in some ways, and we are also accountable to our parents in some ways. So accountability applies to one and all. And accountability cannot be delegated. Okay? Most especially if you rely on someone who is not accountable. You see, accountability cannot be delegated. Everyone should learn accountability. Accountability is the difference between success and failure. Anong ibig sabihin nito? People that fail usually are the people that do not know accountability. They do not know how to check and balance. Okay? Check and balance is very important in any area of our lives. Whether it be at work, in business, in education, in studies, we need to be accountable, we need to know how to check and balance. And you have to hold people accountable. Anong ibig sabihin nito? The moment that we have learned accountability, let us also try to teach our families or our constituents, the people around us, about accountability. How? We need to make people understand that the things that they are entrusted, they need to be accountable. Parang sa trabaho yan, kapag ikaw ay naging seaman, let's just say, for example, you become the fourth engineer. There are things that the boss will delegate or assign you to do. And when you are assigned of something, then you need to be accountable. And when something wrong, you don't need to blame people. Diba? Yan, mahilig ang tao sa marami sa pagpipinpoint, pagtuturuan. They do not want to become accountable of the consequences of their irresponsibility or irresponsibleness. Diba? Kapag may pagkakamali na, nagtuturuan na. No one becomes accountable. So, we have to hold people accountable also. So, those are the things that we need to understand when we talk about accountability. Now, let us try also to understand stewardship. Ano naman itong sinasabi nating stewardship? Okay? Stewardship is an ethic that embodies the responsible planning and management of resources. The concepts of stewardship can be applied to the environment and nature, economics, health, property, information, theology, cultural resources, and the likes. So, stewardship is something that people don't usually understand anymore. Pero kapag sinabi natin stewardship, we need to understand that we as human beings are endowed or given so many things to enjoy or to do. Like for example, God has given us the environment for us to make us the source of the things that we need. We get our food from the environment. God has given us His good creation. Pero anong nagiging problema? We become irresponsible to the environment that God has given us. Sinisira natin. So yung pagsira natin sa mga bagay na ito na pinagkatiwala sa atin, it shows that we are not good stewards. Steward sa Tagalog is tagapangalaga. So, kapag sinisira natin yung paligid natin, hindi tayo nagiging mabuting tagapangalaga. Okay? That is the same issue with our health. We need to become good stewards of our health. Okay? Our property. Nagiging good steward ba tayo sa ating properties? Information. Yan, maraming mga tao hindi sila good stewards on information, kaya maraming chismisan, siraan, because they don't become good stewards of informations. Theology. Yan, sa church namin, lagi namin tinuturo ang stewardship. And then, cultural resources. Okay? So, matanong kita, are you a good steward? Okay, I hope so that you are. Now, there are biblical principles of stewardship. Meron kaming tinatawag na the principle of ownership, the principle of responsibility, the principle of accountability, and the principle of reward. Okay? So, kapag pinagkatiwalaan tayo, kinakonsider natin that pag-aari natin ito. So, we treat it as it is our own, and so we need to take good care of it. And if we become good stewards, then we need to become responsible, the principle of responsibility, maging responsable sa mga pinagkatiwala sa atin. And we need to become accountable. Okay, sasagutin natin ang ating mga ginagawa sa mga pinagkatiwala sa atin. And of course, the principle of reward. Pinagpapala naman ang mga magaling na stewards. Now, let us try to discuss also the third topic, that is respect of authority. Respect of authority. Now, what is respect of authority? Respect for authority. Respect for authority is an indicator of good mental health. Napakasarap pakinggan yan, ano? Ulitin ko, respect for authority is an indicator of good mental health. Moreover, it prevents individuals from being harmed or harming others. Individuals that have a pathological disrespect for authority are known as antisocial. Although antisocial individuals can intellectually comprehend rules, they cannot understand why they should be respected. Most normal individuals have an innate understanding of why it is important for them to respect authority. So, yung respect for authority ay inaasahan sa bawat tao that we need to respect our leaders, diba? Even in the Bible, sabi doon sa Bible, give to Caesar what is of Caesar, and give to God what is of God. Give to Caesar what is of Caesar. Caesar represents the authority, the government, di ba? So, ibigay sa gobyerno, sabi ng Panginoon, ang mga bagay na para sa gobyerno. Di ba? So, when we give what is due to the government, that's showing our respect for our authority. Sabi nga, yung mga hindi alam rumispeto sa authority, sila yung mga hindi magandang pag-iisip. Ayaw nating matawag na hindi magandang ating kaisipan or antisocial, di ba? So, sa isang normal na tao, sabi nga, inaasahan na alam rumispeto sa gobyerno or sa otoridad, di ba? It is also embedded in our laws that we need to respect authority. The laws of the land, kailangan nating respeto. So imagine mo na lang kung ano mangyayari sa iyo kung hindi ka marunong rumispeto sa authority. Now, how to learn to respect authority? Number 1, know the purpose of obeying the laws. Bakit may batas? 'Di ba? Ito'y para din sa kapakanan nating lahat, kapakanan ng isang tao. So when we violate the laws, ano mangyayari sa atin? 'Di ba? Kapag hindi tayo rumerespeto ng gobyerno or batas, ano mangyayari sa atin? Okay, so we need to know the purpose of obeying the laws and then be obedient. Obedient ba tayo? 'Di ba? Sumusunod ba tayo sa ating gobyerno? And when we think that we have the rights to express against what is presented to us, we can protest. That's our right. We have the right to express ourselves or exercise our rights, the rights of the individual rights of every person. But when we protest, we need to protest in a right way. There is always a proper avenue for everything. So protest in a right way and then interact with the authorities. Minsan takot tayo sa otoridad sapagkat nilalayo natin, kinakatakutan natin ang otoridad, which should not be. The authority, the people in authority are there to serve us. Kaya wag natin silang katakutan. Allow them to exercise their job, di ba? And then ensure discipline. Okay? We have the authority to ensure discipline individual discipline of people and discipline of the community. Gusto ng autoridad natin na maging maayos ang ating bansa, ang ating komunidad. So, let us try to respect our authority. Okay? And then let us also try to understand what discipline and self-control is all about. I think this is the last topic in this presentation. So, what is discipline and self-control? Merriam-Webster defines discipline as the control gained by enforcing obedience or order. Okay, so discipline is the control gained by enforcing obedience or order. Di ba parang sa bata kapag lagi nating tinuturo, okay, na dapat sila maging disiplinado, and we remind them always, so natututo sila. Habang sila sumusunod, yung inuutos natin later on will become lifestyle. And then, Merriam-Webster also defined discipline. This is supposed to be discipline as the training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental faculties or moral character. Okay? So, ang pagdidisiplina ay yung pag-correct or pag-mold. Okay? The training that corrects, molds, or perfects the mental faculties or moral character, that discipline. Now, how to teach discipline? Una, we need to provide structure. Diba? Ano ba yung mga gusto nating matutunan kasi ng mga anak natin o ng mga taong mahal natin? So, provide them structure. And then explain the reason behind your rules. Diba? Minsan, palo tayo ng palo ng bata. Pero hindi niya nauunawaan yung ating point. Kaya paulit-ulit niyang nagagawa. Kasi ang mistake natin ng mga matatanda minsan, hindi natin ina-explain yung reason behind kung bakit natin sila pinapagalitan or pinapalo. Kawawa naman yung bata. Lalo na hindi naman lahat ng bata ay pare-pareho. May mga medyo mahina, meron din mga advanced. So kapag dinidisiplina natin sila, we need to explain the reasons behind our rules. Bakit natin sinasabing wag maingay? Or wag aakyat sa hagdan? Diba? Or bakit natin sinasabing bawal magsalita ng masama? Or minsan sabi natin bawal magsalita ng masama pero naririnig nila tayo. Diba? So, explain the reasons behind your rules. And then give consequences. Halimbawa, kapag sinabi mo, bawal magnakaw. Pag nagnakaw ka, eto ang gagawin ko. At kung makikita kitang honest, eto ang reward mo sa akin. You see, give consequences. And then shape behavior one step at a time. Diba? Halimbawa, nakita mo yung bata medyo jack of all attitudes. So, shape his behavior one step at a time. Para naman hindi siya ma-overload ng mga rules. Okay? And then, kapag sumusunod siya sa'yo, you need also to learn how to praise good behavior. Tayo naman kasi hindi tayo marunong mag-compliment minsan. Puro negative ang nakikita natin. Diba? Which is not good. We need also to learn how to praise them if they do something good. And then teach problem-solving skills. Wag lang sabihin, turuan sila. Halimbawa, gumawa ka ng mga situations, scenarios. And then tanungin mo, halimbawa, pag nakapulot ka ng pera na hindi mo pag-aari, anong gagawin mo? Diba? Isasauli mo ba or hindi? Okay? Bakit natin ginagawa ito? Napakasimple. You know, when we teach and the instruction is very clear, mas na mauunawaan nila ito. Okay? Kaysa inaasahan natin na ina-expect natin na naunawaan na nila, hindi pala. Make our rules, our instructions very clear. Provide them scenarios or problem-solving scenarios to develop their skills. And of course, number 7, this is very important. Model self-discipline. Nagtuturo tayo ng disiplina pero tayo wala naman tayong disiplina. So, we do not become good teachers of discipline. So, discipline must be seen in our lives before we teach them. And then reward good behavior. Ito yung sabi ko kanina. Kapag sumusunod naman sila at nagiging disiplinado, we need to know how to reward good behavior. Okay? So, these are some of the ways on how we teach. And lastly, what is self-control? Self-control is the ability to control oneself, in particular one's emotions and desires or the expression of them in one's behavior, especially in difficult situations. Alam niyo, madaling magpakabait kapag magandang panahon. Pero nakikita ang ating pag-control sa ating sarili kapag tayo'y napoprovoke, di ba? Ginagalit tayo. How do we express ourselves in situations, compromising situations such as this? That is self-control. Diba? Kapag mahirap ang sitwasyon, nagbo-burst ba tayo? How do we control ourselves? Diba? So, self-control is your ability to control yourself in difficult situations. I have here some strategies for developing self-control. Okay? Number 1, a can-do attitude. Okay? A can-do attitude. Now, maraming ibig sabihin nito. Okay? When you say a can-do attitude in a positive sense, yung sinasabi mo sa sarili mo na kaya mo. Okay? Kaya mo. So, kapag ikaw ay nasa isang mahirap na sitwasyon, tell yourself you can do it. Sabi nga, if no one can encourage you, then encourage yourself. And then goal setting. You need to know how to set goals. Okay? And then self-monitor. I-monitor mo yung sarili mo. Ano yung mga nagpapagalit sa'yo. And then give motivations to yourself. Ano ba yung mga nagmo-motivate sa'yo? Okay? And then, confidence is very important. Okay? Develop confidence in yourself. Number 6, willpower. Sabi ko nga kanina, sabihin mo, kaya mo. And then, avoid temptation. Diba? Mas maganda yung i-avoid mo na lang yung sitwasyon para your self-control will not be provoked, di ba? Kung alam mo na ito yung temptation mo, huwag ka nang pumunta dyan. Okay? And then, you need to develop a good mindset. The why and how mindset. How can I do these things? And why should I do it? Okay? And then, set pattern of behavior. Okay, or make self-control as a pattern of behavior. And then, you need to have also what we call automated goals. Okay? So, kapag ganitong sitwasyon, ano dapat ang goal ko? Okay? So, these are some strategies for developing self-control. If you have more questions about it, you are always free to message me in our group chats. Okay, so I hope that you learned some things. This is just a short PowerPoint discussion, and I hope that you have learned something about moral excellence. Kapag ginawa natin lahat itong mga topics na ito, natutunan natin, and then exemplify it in our lives, then we are developing moral excellence in ourselves. I hope that you learned something, and you are always free to approach me or to contact me if you have some more questions. I hope that you have a great day. You had a great day. God bless.